Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched The Phoenician Scheme by Wes Anderson. Wealthy businessman Zaza Korda appoints his only daughter, a nun, as sole heir to his estate. As Korda embarks on a new enterprise, they soon become the target of scheming tycoons, foreign terrorists, and determined assassins. This movie stars a lot of people, so bear with me with the names. Benicio Del Toro, Mia Thermopolitan, Michael Cera, Riz Ahmed, Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, Matthew Amalric, Richard Ayoade, Jeffrey Wright, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch, Rupert Friend, Hope Davis, F. Murray Abraham, Charlotte Gainsbourg, William Dafoe, and Bill Murray. Okay, so Dale, what were your thoughts about this movie?
Oh yeah, this is a pleasant surprise. It's weird 'cause I don't think it's like the most Wes Anderson-esque movie, you know. A lot of it deals with he said he made this in honor of his father-in-law, who was a Moroccan man who was also a businessman. A lot of this has a lot of his work has a lot of homages to different time periods, but this seems to be more like a homage a bit more to like old Hollywood in a way, and how they shot their movies and how the sequencing went. I love the fact that this is also a story of a man who's coming to terms with who he is as a person and is changing, or whether, being forced to or by willingly. Like I love the fact that, a lot of the black and white scenes are basically his conscience, those crises of conscience people have. So I love that, using that as a literary device to illustrate him changing as a person. And yeah, and like Mia Thermopolitan, like a scene stealer. Like I was like, who is this? And it turns out it's Kate Winslet's daughter. This is like her first like major, role as a lead actor, and she like carries like not the emotional stuff, but she does. Her and Benicio carry a lot of this movie, and I thought she did an amazing job. Amazing job.
Yeah, I did like this film. I thought it was pretty good. Is it my favorite Wes Anderson? No.
No, no, yeah.
It's not. But everyone in the theater seemed to have a good time when they're watching this. So I was like, yeah, the vibe is good. It's a good time. And I think it was very funny. I think it was like very political. I don't know how political he gets in his movies all the time. I know he does do it, but this felt like very political in what he was trying to say. So that was really interesting to see his take on that. Even though he has done it before, it's just like this one felt a lot more poignant,
Hmm.
maybe sorry, pointed. Maybe it's just because of like what's going on recently. I might be reading too much into it, but um I thought that was really good. And I don't see Benicio del Toro like all the time. So like when I do see him, it's like a really nice, refreshing surprise and he's so good.
Hmm.
And Mia, I also thought was really good. I have some feelings about like the Nepo babies of it all, like just kind of, being in films, but I also just feel like if you're good, then it's fine. So she was good, so I didn't
Hmm.
really have any issues with it. But yeah, I really enjoyed their relationship and their journey that they go on, and all of the other characters who kind of come into play. I thought that their stuff, like I feel like they both of them interacted really well with everyone. To me, the standout was Michael Cera.
Yes.
Sorry to say this.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I just feel like I don't know. After like the mid 2010s, I had didn't really see Michael Cera much. And then I saw him in the Barbie movie and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's amazing." I forgot how great he is. And then he's in this, just absolutely killing it. Like, I don't know. I love Michael Cera so much. He has a very special place in my heart. So it was such a joy seeing him in this movie, and he like fits so well in like Wes Anderson's aesthetic. So I was just like, yeah, this is cool. But yeah, also just seeing like Bryan Cranston, like I love that he was in this movie too. Like I really love Wes's movies because he does get like the best talent to just do little pop-ups and stuff. Um, and I really enjoy that. And just in terms of the whole production and like the cinematography, the production design, like all of that just was always very stunning. It's my favorite part of his kind of his entire vision of how he makes his movies. I really enjoy looking at it because it just looks great. And the dialogue was fantastic, witty, Spitfire, very spot on. I think he wrote it with Roman Coppola. So honestly, this movie was good. It's not like my favorite one
Yeah.
because I have other ones that are just that mean probably more to me and I felt more and I got more from, but I do think that this was really good.
Yeah, yeah, him and Roman Coppola, one of Francis's kids, worked on this. I don't know. It's not the most, as what I don't know. I think it's probably a shift in his work or whatever as you get older, or whatever. Because like the last two movies have deal a lot more with like you see the themes of how family and interaction increases a bit more. That's always been influential in his work, but the direction it's taken is more so very pointed in a way. Like people like reminiscing over like at like their older age, like Asteroid City, you had Jason Schwartzman's character basically mostly reminiscing about his wife a lot. With this one, you have Benicio Del Toro reminiscing about, his relationship with his daughter, and whatever interaction with his wife. It seems more like as he's aged, his viewpoints, it's still about family, but the adult side of it, like more so now me as an aging adult almost, because Wes is like almost late 40s, almost 50s in a way. So now he's like, oh, I'm getting up there in age. How has, my life or my actions more impacted like my family and those around me and kind of reflecting on it in his writing as well.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see like the progression of someone's work. Like as you watch them, you can see kind of how they're developing and like what they choose to focus on. I will say I really enjoyed this much more than I did Asteroid City, and the
Yeah.
only reason is because in that movie, it's you're watching the story, but then it's also a play. So for
Mm,
me, the play aspect kind of takes you out of the emotional rhythms of like what this the actual story is presenting, which I thought was interesting. But I like this one because this one is a lot more linear and clear in terms of like what it's trying to say. And
yeah.
it feels like we're all kind of on the same page, on the same journey. So it was
Mm,
like I can rock with this one more.
yeah.
But I just like I feel like I haven't seen the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
You haven't
I
seen
still
Fast
need
and
to see
Mr.
that.
Fox?
I know. There's so
Wow.
many things I haven't seen, which is anyways. But in my opinion, Grand Budapest Hotel is like maybe his best work.
Mm,
Is my opinion. I also love the Royal Tenenbaums, but like,
yeah.
but is my opinion. Um, and I don't know what it was about that movie in particular. I don't know. I guess it just had like this energy that was like so like captivating that I was just like invested like every step of the way. And I love the kind of story within a story within a story. So like I guess
Mm,
maybe that's just due down to taste. But I do think that this movie kind of also had the energy where it's like, okay, so we're presenting this situation where this guy is trying to get is like being a trying like wait, the guy is like they're trying to kill him
mm,
for being, I don't know, terrible. And within that, there's like a scheme of like how he's gonna get this money, and then you kind of have to go through all of that. There's a lot of scenes on planes, and like that also has a lot to do. It's not like just a mode of transportation. Like it actually is in like it is a part of the storytelling of like
mm,
certain things happen, certain people pop up, you know.
yeah.
Um, but I also like the idea of like this man who is very wealthy and, very established, finding his daughter who is like not interested in like what he's trying to do. And then when he loses all his wealth, like she is the only thing that he has left, but it's a really good relationship because they've like been working on their stuff like throughout the entire film. So by the time you get to the point where he doesn't have any more wealth
Mm,
and he's just like working at a restaurant,
yeah.
um, it feels really satisfying because it's like, well, this is the most important thing, right? It's his kid.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. I really did love the journey that these two characters went on. To me, that was like the heart of the film. That's like what kind of carries you through. Even though it kind of dips and dives in all different kinds of aspects, I feel like that is the journey that you're on, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I loved like I don't know if anybody or if you know this is watching the movie. I love how they changed little details in Mia's wardrobe as her
Oh yeah.
character. Her
And her
character,
makeup
yeah,
and
her
stuff, yeah.
as she gets closer to Benicio's character, she's striding like, "Oh, I'm going to be a nun no matter what." And the initial thought of, "Okay, cool, I'll join my father on a temporary basis, only so that I can influence him to do what I want to do." In a way, for these things. But through that journey of also trying to influence him, he changes and she gets to know him as a person more so than the guy who sent her, to an orphanage or to the convent, and only kept the brothers, As you see her, she changed her stocking slowly. She starts wearing more makeup, she gets the jeweled rosary, then she starts carrying a knife and then he gives her a better knife. Like she as a person also like and that's the thing, like when we as we get older, we kind of do mimic our parents a lot more than we think. And that's also, I think, a good visual detail of showing her growth and change due to his influence as well in the movie.
Yeah, I really like how they influence each other. I think it's pretty cool. And I like the things that they're exploring through that relationship, religion being one of them. That's a big one in this one. And um I like at the end when she says, like every time I prayed, like I didn't hear anything. I just did what I felt like I should do in the situation. And I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that tracks. Yeah, that tracks.
I get it. I get where you're getting from, girly. So I really liked their exploration of that, but also just like how, if you have money, you can kind of buy your way into things. The fact that they were like having a basketball game in the middle of like a train on the underground like train station for like
Yeah.
for this business, it's just like ridiculous, but like that's the point, is that like it's like the ridiculousness of being so wealthy, like where you have so much money you don't know what to do with, and then you end up doing the most ridiculous dumb things with it because it's like, well, I have it to spend and like people are gonna take it, and like whether it's a prince or these rich buffoons from America
Yeah.
or whoever, like it seems like the only people who like didn't try to like buy into this was the quote unquote terrorist, but
Yeah.
just kind of seemed like a rebel group. They didn't really seem like terrorists, but I'm not really sure what commentary he was trying to make with that one. I didn't really get that piece.
I mean, what was his use was like, oh, we're gonna take your money and refund it into like civil project and stuff like that. A very very thinly veiled like Black Panther reference in
Yeah,
a
that's what
way.
it was
And I think a
giving.
lot of people now recognize, hey, the Black Panther Party was not a bad thing because they were doing all the social stuff that everybody should be doing. Like it's kind of a
Hmm.
revisionist looking at it. I love the fact that he is painted globally as this kind of villain. Reminds me very much of like how Western media sometimes used to portray Gaddafi at the time when he was alive. Benicio's character, of course, is a Middle Eastern billionaire, multimillionaire, working with a lot of American companies in this. He's working with what's his name? Jeffrey Wright's character.
Hmm.
And then he's also working with both Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks' character as well, and it's deemed a bad thing by the powers that be because he's trying to build a hydroelectric dam to provide power in cars. But on the back end, he's also like, look, I'm also creating a false famine to boost profit so I can pay it. So I'm doing a bad thing and I'm coming off as a villain because I want to do a good thing. And then in the midst of trying to like make sure he doesn't have to cover the large sum of money due to them, due to the what market manipulation of the undisclosed government, you know, and special secret agents. He's like, look, I need the rest of my friends to cover majority of this, and it's weird. It's through his shenanigans of trying to hustle his friends, their bond gets tighter. Like he blocks his friend from getting shot. It's like, oh, you really like me? All right, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll
Hmm.
I'll add into it. Oh man, your relationship with your daughter, this letter you have here. Fine, I'll give you blood and I'll back it as well. Playing basketball with Tom Hanks and Ryan Cranston. He helps, Riz Ahmed's character build confidence, and the daughter gives their story of who she is, where she's coming from. The both of them go, no, screw it, I'll help you out as well. Only person who doesn't acquiesce to that whim is Scarlett Johansson because I
Yeah.
think their family, so it made no sense for her monetary wise to help. And then of course Benedict Cumberbatch, which goes again to the story of them just being adversarial for the sake of being adversarial. Like they've kept up this childish feud from whatever small little tit for tat thing and turned into a bigger thing to the point where they've both killed each other's loved ones, and they still and like to the point where even Benicio is like, yeah, we've been screwing each other a lot. Let's kind of stop. And Benedict's like, no, can't stop now. Gotta do it anyway. So that touch of comedy at the end is really peak like Wes Anderson, but it's also a lot of heart and tenderness in the story as well. Like you're driving yourself to ruin over petty inconveniences which aren't necessary at all.
Yeah, it's like the absurdity of like chasing this thing. It's just ridiculous. And like his willingness and like acceptance of like knowing he's gonna die, that was like a huge thing in the entire movie where it's like, well, I'm just gonna go anyway, so why not do this very dangerous thing? Like,
Yeah.
okay. Sure. But yeah, so I really did like the story, and I also like how some like little pieces would come back around, like when Scarlett Johansson like accepts the ring and she then gives it away, and then it ends up being Mia's ring because he gives it to Mia when Michael proposes to her, right?
Yeah, then yeah.
Yeah, at the end, yeah, and I like just like those little touches of consistency and kind of setting things up and then paying them off later. I think that that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, like I like the fact that Scarlett refuses to marry him, but then like yeah, the boys can come here and come to summer camp and learn and grow.
All these sons, like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
where are these kids' mothers? Like,
Mm,
that's my question. Did he kill all of them?
yeah. I
I
mean, he
wonder.
said he said they were all from like illegitimate, like different situations. So like, I guess in his set, instead of creating adversaries and rivals, much like him and his brother, have them all in the same house together and kind of force them to be friends because he doesn't make them interact with anybody else until Mia's character comes on. I was like, look, all right, fine, you guys can have two friends come over to
Yes,
the house
two
and
friends.
hang out. So and in his head, I guess it made sense. I'm instead of creating another problem for myself of another group of people who want to take my life, I'm forcing you guys to bond and come together in a way.
Yeah, and that he doesn't give his inheritance to them. He gives
Yeah,
it to her
yeah,
so that there isn't like a rivalry. It's like, no, none of you get it.
mhm,
The girl gets it. I was like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
stand on business.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
um, but yeah, so I thought that all that stuff was really interesting. I really loved like the costuming, like all of his suits and stuff were like
Hmm.
beautiful. And I loved her costuming too because she does have that kind of nun's um dress. I don't know what it's called. The dresses that the
Convent
nuns be
robes and stuff
wearing,
like
the
yeah,
robes.
yeah,
But it was kind of like the texture of it was like kind of plasticky. It was giving very like Lady Gaga, the Fame, you know,
hmm
2010 era, Bad Romance era kind of dress. Like I was like, okay, I don't know if he got inspiration from that, but I noticed it and I loved her like 70s makeup with that bright green eyeshadow and the red lip. Like it was just so like he knows like how to put together aesthetics. Like he just knows like what look nice together. Even the inside of the plane, the interior of it looked great. Um, Everything just looked really interesting. And that's like again, like I said, like my favorite part of like watching his movies is just like looking at everything, his use of the miniatures and stuff. Like I just really enjoy all of that. I just feel like it's such a unique way of making a movie that like no one else really does. Like other people do use miniatures and stuff, and other people do have good aesthetics, but I feel like when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie, like it's
yeah,
so distinct,
yeah,
which is why
yeah.
I really enjoy watching his stuff.
Yeah. It was nice because after last week we did watch Queer, and the
Yeah.
use of miniatures. When I watched that movie, I was like, oh, the use of miniatures in this movie reminds me very much of a Wes Anderson movie. And then
Hmm.
to come back and watch Phoenician Scheme and see the use of miniatures again, I was like, it was kind of like a full circle moment. Because very
Yeah.
very few directors use miniatures the way he does. Like I think the
Right.
only other director who does use miniatures in their projects, I think Peter Jackson to a degree, the Lord of the Rings stuff, but also Guillermo del Toro, and that's it.
Mm.
But a lot of directors don't use miniatures in their projects. I don't know why. I think a lot of them should. It's been proven, like especially with Spielberg's work with puppets and stuff, particularly with the Jurassic Park movies. So even going back to using puppets as well with those, like there's a certain kind of, I guess, authenticity with those practical effects in your projects that you don't get with either using volume or using VFX and CGI, you know.
Yeah, it's so true. It's again like it feels like maybe old-fashioned filmmaking just because everything is just used with like visual effects now. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think the music was really great as well. It always is.
Mm.
And that he used like real paintings, like paintings that
Yeah.
are in like art galleries. He used that as like props in his in this movie, which
Yeah.
is like of course you're gonna. And that's what I'm saying. Like his attention to detail and his eye of like knowing what looks good and just like actually getting real paintings. I feel like if he wanted to actually like be a creative director at a fashion house, I feel like he could do it. Like he is, if he wanted to like put together an art installation
Yes.
in some like
Like,
museum at the Met, whatever, like do that as a theme for the Met Gala celebrating Wes Anderson. Like honestly, Anna Wintour call me.
you
She's
know,
not watching this. Um, but like, it's very he's so good at that that I just feel like he should do it. Like
yeah.
on the off season where he's not making a movie. But he's like always making a movie, so
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But
He should like curate like a art exhibition,
yes.
I would, love that. Especially it's also the changes in art. Like you said, like you haven't seen Master Fantastic Mr. Fox, but that's like very much Norman Rockwell kind of stuff,
Mm,
that kind of thing. With like now it's kind of giving more this is more French Nouveau
mm,
kind of art in a way, but the art art he picks in this movie also help illustrate the story that he's telling,
right.
which is a lot of times most directors or most creatives, like I wouldn't say creatives, like some creative directors just say we're just gonna dress the scene to dress the scene. But a lot of people forget like the intentionality of how a scene is decorated, not just the colors and how it's lit, but the small touches. Like why does this character's desk look the way it does? Why does he look at this? Why is this painting or this picture here at a certain angle? Like those also help tell you who the character is, you know.
Yeah. Mm,
I have a question for you though. You mentioned like when I see it as well, like Michael Cera as the breakout character of the movie. How much did you enjoy like that performance and twist? Because Michael Cera doesn't get enough respect for his a lot of his dramatic roles. Like he did I think one of the few dramatic roles he did was Molly's Game, but a lot of it is
mm,
comedy drama where he's able to mix the comedy up in it a bit. But I like how he was able to kind of switch characters a bit in this movie. Kind of reminded me a bit of dang, we literally just saw the movie and he won an award for it. Like Kieran Culkin and Jesse
oh,
Eisenberg, their last movie, his switch in character type reminded me of that. I want to see him do more dramatic stuff, to be
hmm.
honest. I love yeah.
Yeah. I think he is like an excellent comedic actor, which is why I haven't seen him in like a lot of dramatic roles, but I feel like he'll be good in those roles because I feel like if you're good at comedy, you're going to be good at drama.
Yeah.
Like it's the same way I feel about Adam Scott, where it's like Adam Scott was like a comedy actor for a long time, and now he does Severance. And the stuff that he does in that, where he is playing multiple versions of like the same like he's killing it. So
Mhm.
like I think Michael Cera can absolutely like like slay a dramatic role. Like I truly believe
Yeah.
that. And the thing is like the way that he presented the character initially is just it was so goofy. Like obviously like this is not a real it's not a real accent. Like it's not a real like this is just totally made up.
Hmm.
But I think what was interesting about the character and how it was written, I guess, and how it was played is that it's not he is playing a character, but it's also him. Like it's not like he's veering too far off from his who he is as like a special agent.
Yeah.
He is, the things that he's interested in, insects and all that other stuff. Like he was interested in that as a regular person, like n not in character. And the feelings that he had for Mia were legitimate. They were
Yeah.
genuine. It wasn't like he was pretending for during that either. And the fact that he like sticks around and tries to help, like I don't know, I like that it was a character, but it wasn't like it was a completely separate person
Mm.
from the other character who is revealed later ends
Yeah,
up being.
I feel like that version of him was the real him. Like the
Yeah.
person who was playing, like I like bugs. You know, when I drink, I talk too much. Like she was like, "Oh, I don't drink beer because I'm a nun," and then she decides to drink, and you see him slowly slipping, and she's like holding her liquor, and he's like, "Oh, I like you," and I got jealous when the prince was touching you. I ain't like that, and she's like telling him to relax, and
Mm.
then once she switches. He goes, "Oh, you're cool now," but then she also goes, "But I like the real you that I've seen as well," which was a nice touch, like of not trying to keep up a facade just so somebody would like you, because 9 times out of 10 they won't probably like the real you if they got to know you, and that's what she got to experience.
Yeah. And I love her journey as well because I guess being raised in like a convent, I think her perspective on the world is like very black and white. And then as she kind of goes on this journey with Korda, she's like, well, I guess like someone does something wrong, should throw them to jail, but also like these people are stealing money, but they're giving it to the poor, so that's good. So, what does it mean? Like, I guess life is a lot more gray
Yeah,
than anything. And I really enjoyed that too, because it's like, well, of course.
yeah.
Well, of course. So, like, I thought that was pretty cool. It's interesting that like she was getting scolded for like having a bedazzled rosary and like a dagger.
Mhm.
But I think he gave money to the Pope or whatever, and that helped him do whatever he wanted. And I think she was just like, okay, so can we talk about the hypocrisy here?
Yeah.
You know, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. It was interesting.
So on to the box office update. So yeah, Sinners currently ninth place. It's like I said, we started last week. We started its video on demand process. It's currently playing on I know it's on Amazon on video on demand. I don't know when it reaches other platforms yet, but it's ninth week, you know, reached almost that 40 million global number, so far, and box office made 359 million. Um One of the most successful original IP movies in a long time. I yeah, Life of Chuck at 9, you know, in its debut weekend with about 200 million. Stephen King adaptation. It's like it seems like as time has gone on, we've been getting a lot better Stephen King adaptations of his stories. For a while he was doing the penny movie things or dollar movie things where you could get the rights to create a movie for $1. But because of that, he's like the majority of them end up being trash. So that's why he only wants you guys to pay him $1. But it seems like when the good ones happen, he's like, yeah, the good ones happens, pay me. Of course, the movie we're talking about right now, Phoenician Scheme, second week, 300 million, 3 million domestically, 12 total, 25 global. Final Destination's Bloodline at 7, fifth week, 265 million global. Karate Kid Legends, it kind of like jumped up out of nowhere for like a quick second and then dropped like straight back down to like planet Earth. Um, it's in the third week, currently hitting 90 million globally. John Wick's Ballerina, um debuted last week at number one, had almost a 62% drop off from week to week, which is a bit massive. Um, yeah, about almost 100 million global. Um, it doesn't. It's so far what I'm hearing is not doing well domestically, but it's doing well in international markets. So that's still a good sign. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, fourth week. It's so far made 500 million globally. The Materialist, it's opening weekend. A24 has had like a lot of movies come out in like the last month or so as a as a distributor and a producer. But once again, Materialist stars Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. It's currently A24's third biggest opening ever. Even though the audience has mixed reactions, that movie went on to make 12 million this weekend. Of course, number two is Lilo and Stitch in its fourth week. Um, it's now made 858 million globally. um passing what the Jungle Book earned domestically as well. And of course, in the lineage of these live action remakes, How to Train Your Dragon has taken the number one spot. It's kind of the newest movie out, and it's a kids friendly movie. Summer is still in the throes of summer. Um, that movie opened up to about 80, I would say 84 million and about 200 million globally. Of course, it's exceeding expectations, even though me myself has voiced concerns about the necessity of redoing this movie, especially the shot for shot remake. But what I'm hearing so far is a lot of people didn't really see the first one. I don't know how you still haven't seen the first one still in this day and age with streaming and stuff. But and they're saying they've loved it. Like, and I guess that's also the case. If you haven't seen the original one, you're going to love this movie a lot.
So, in other news, there has been a textbook copyright infringement claims Disney and Universal as they sue AI image generator Midjourney. Midjourney users can create AI images of protected characters like Shrek, Yoda, and Marvel superheroes, according to the new lawsuit. So, Disney, Universal, and several other entertainment companies filed a lawsuit against the popular AI creative service on Wednesday, alleging that the company committed copyright infringement. It's a big move from power players who will no doubt create ripple effects across the AI and entertainment industries that will flow all the way to what you can create using AI tools.
Yeah.
So, not good, I'm assuming.
I mean, I'm really surprised it took this long because they've like Midjourney and what's the other one? Chat GPT and all these guys have mentioned, oh yeah, we train our AI on books and movies and stuff. And like Sam Altman, owner slash CEO of Chat GPT was like, but if we can't access copyrighted books, how else are we going to train these and it's not even really AI, it's like machine learning. How else are we going to train these algorithms? I mean, you could pay for the rights like you would have to use an information, you know. And like this I'm not surprised this happened, especially after the Studio Ghibli stuff where everybody's making their own Ghibli art, you know,
Mm,
which was a big thing. And then you had a couple like months ago or like last year I think where like even Making a Stallion was complaining of like AI generated like pornography featuring her like a lot of celebrities.
mm,
Like these lawsuits should have happened like from jump, you know. I think of this whole AI thing of or not even yeah, it's not even AI, it's like machine learning. You're learning memorizing patterns and copying them, essentially. Like it's like the Wild Wild West with like zero rules or regulations. So it needs to be put under control. So
What's the difference between the AI tools and the learning,
machine
generative
learning,
machine
machine
learning?
learning. I mean, I don't really like calling it AI is easier, artificial intelligence, but to like it's more so machine, learning a learning algorithm or whatever, basically memorizing patterns, like how we learn in school, like oh, 1 + 1 always equals 2, that kind of thing. Like, okay, this is the pattern that every single, you know, Disney character looks like, or this is the pattern of the art style of every single Ghibli picture. Okay, cool. Now that I've known that, okay, the eyes look like this, the eyes look like that, the mouth looks like that, the expressions like this when they're doing this. Now I can say, okay, you want to take your personal picture and want to make it look like Shrek? Cool. I just have to match up each parameter and and recreate and stuff like that. So yeah.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know what this is lawsuit is like 100+ page lawsuit. So
Mm,
yeah, and then I guess the biggest people on it are of course Disney and Universal because they have a large library of animated content. So yeah. Um, Moving on to other breaking news and on a Disney related subject, we're getting The Incredibles 3 apparently. Um, so it will be looking like Brad Bird, of course, the director of both these movies of Incredibles 1 and Incredibles 2, will not be taking the reins for it. It will be Peter Sohn, the director and creator behind Elemental, which I think is a really underrated Disney movie. A lot of heart, much like Inside Out, the Inside Out series, and that's what's needed for a project like Incredibles. Brad Bird did write the screenplays and direct the first two and earned a combined 1.8 million. Brad is in the process of writing the third movie, which will also be produced by both him and Dana Murray, who won for Soul. So you got a wonderful creative team behind it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Both Peter Sohn and Brad Bird have collaborated for a long time. Apparently Sohn has worked on every single Brad Bird animated picture, starting like including Incredibles 2, up until I guess this year's picture called Ray Gun. And apparently Brad Bird has been a mentor to him. So Brad Bird has like one of those been those influential pictures within Pixar's creative process, and it seems like they've found the person to take the reins after he decides to step down or fill a different role within the organization. He's even voiced characters for like Ratatouille, Monsters University, and Lightyear. So, and of course Elemental, even though it was his second picture that he directed for Pixar, it was also nominated for Best Animation Feature last year's Oscar. So, yeah, it looks like Incredibles 3 will be a banger. So, yeah.
Okay. So in other casting news, the Cliff Booth movie from Netflix and David Fincher will be adding Yahya Abdul-Mateen II to the cast. So Netflix's The Adventures of Cliff Booth is slowly but surely starting to take shape as sources tell Deadline that Yahya Abdul-Mateen is joining Brad Pitt, who is reprising his role that won him the Oscar. Elizabeth Debicki and Scott Caan are also on board with the adventure directing from a script by Quentin Tarantino. So I did not even know that this was happening. I had no idea that they were making like a spin-off movie from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, okay, sure. At least Quentin is involved, like he's writing the script, and David Fincher's directing, which is like a really nice 90s duo of, the heyday of those movies, which is great.
Mm.
Um, so I'm excited. Am I excited to see it? I'm interested. I'm intrigued about like what this is going to be. Because in the movie, like he was an interesting character, but like that movie for me was honestly a little bit all over the place. We were focusing on like Brad Pitt's character as Leonardo DiCaprio's stunt double, but also the Charles Manson stuff. Like it was just a lot, and I was just like, what? Everyone loved it though. Everyone was like obsessed with that movie. So it makes sense that they're making the spin-off. It's just that for me personally, I'm just like, okay, that's fine. I love Brad Pitt, so I will watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll watch it. It
Yeah.
seems like it'll probably be good. And it's also like reuniting Brad Pitt and David Fincher, and that's a deal that doesn't fail. So like I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Yaha in another picture. Like he last movie he did was what Aquaman 2. Like he doesn't get the opportunity to flex his acting chops that much,
Hmm.
and I feel like uh it's probably going to be a large ensemble cast because the like you mentioned with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was kind of a the movie was about Brad Pitt's being a stunt double slash bodyguard for Leonardo DiCaprio's actor, but what the key element of it was how Hollywood changed and evolved around them. Like the story was about the like once again it was an homage and a love letter to like old Hollywood and stuff like that, and how the times were changing around these people. Like you saw the transition from like cowboy westerns to other genres. And like I said, the Charles Manson murders. Like I want to see how, okay, I guess they're saying that he's gonna be playing like a Jim Brown-esque character, former athlete transitioning to acting, which, Jim Brown did actually really did do exceptionally well with. So I want to see how what other characters or what other references from that era in Hollywood, probably up until like closer to like modern day, how those elements fit in. Like, and especially with what Fincher's tough, Fincher's like directorial style. I want to see how that message with with Tarantino's writing style. Like those
Mm.
two seem like two styles that shouldn't work, and I want to see how they pull it off. You know.
Yeah, I feel like it will probably be pretty good. I know they do have very different styles, but I think it's also very similar. I think they have a very similar kind of mentality in terms of like cinema and like what they want to see on screen. They seem like they have a very clear vision, both of them. So I think it could work.
Mhm.
I'm interested.
Um. So moving on, of course, Superman, Superman, with the reintroduction of DC, EU, is the first shot going out. So from the initial, introduction of David Core Smith as, Superman to the costume reveals, like a lot of, diehard Zack Snyder fans have been kind of decrying James Gunn and hoping and saying he killed the Snyderverse. And James Gunn responded like, "We'll survive. So we'll survive. The movie still will do well, and it's all right to have an opposing force." But I do think this is another instance of stan culture going too far in a way. Like, cool, you loved that. You loved the franchise at the time. You loved what they did with it. I liked it as well. I like the inverse of DC being kind of more gritty. In its way, like a little bit more realistic and cringy. Marvel for the time period was a little bit too lighthearted to me, like too jokey jokey. The world's about to end. Y'all shouldn't be cracking jokes like on a regular
Mm.
basis. You need to be serious. But there were mishaps and mistakes with, DC trying to fast track a team up movie to catch up with the Avengers instead of taking their time, and that's what led to the ultimate downfall. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Of course, James Gunn does have a keen hand on this, especially considering, what he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Essentially took an unknown team from Marvel for a lot of people and push it into uh, the public scope. Turned freaking, was it, Chris Pratt into like an A-list actor. So because of James Gunn, we have to thank for, Chris Pratt shenanigans on a regular basis. So thank you for that, James Gunn. Um, and his stuff with Peacemaker with, John Cena, who's actually doing a phenomenal job. So I'm looking forward to it. So hey, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I feel like the stands are always going to be extra, especially around these type of things. They have very um intense opinions about things. But like, I don't know. I think what he was probably getting at is that like, what tends to happen and what's been happening more recently is that they will just try to like um review it to hell. So
Mm-hmm.
like other people who are maybe might be interested will see the reviews and just be like, oh well, it's not good. I shouldn't go see it. And I really hope that doesn't happen because one, like you cannot criticize a movie that you haven't seen yet, and two, you can't be upset about a movie just because it's a different director who's doing it. And three, like if you want to see the Snyderverse movies, like it's all available to you. You can go back and watch it if that's
Yeah.
like what you just want to watch. You don't have to watch this, but don't like ruin it for everyone else who's excited about it. Like just stay in your little corner.
Mm,
But um, I do think James Gunn has like a very specific style where like it looks like very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. Like when I was watching the trailers for Superman, I was like, yeah, this kind of just looks
really
like
colorful,
Guardian,
yeah.
yeah, like Guardians of the Galaxy, just with different characters. And I actually really loved the Snyderverse version of Superman in particular. I
Hmm.
like maybe I'm in the minority. I really liked Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I thought Henry Cavill did a great job. Like I liked that movie. I thought it was good. So like I don't know, but I'm interested to see this new take on it. Like I think it'll be fun
Yeah.
and like not as like dark and depressing as the other one.
Yeah.
Um so and isn't that how the comics are where you have like different versions of
Yeah, every writer and animator or
yeah.
artist gives their own take for what they like. And look, I would have loved to have seen the continuation of his versions of Superman as he becomes the Superman everybody knows and loves him to be. I mean, I loved Man of Steel for the fact that it makes sense for him not knowing who he like trying to find his place in the world. Like, I'm not human. I have these superpowers, you know. And as much as people decry the issue of his parents saying don't be a hero, like let's be honest, if your kid had weird superpowers, like you would like as black people we know black people we've had these conversations with our parents and don't do certain things to avoid trouble. So it kind of makes sense like, oh yeah, you have superpowers. Don't do it. Don't attract attention to yourself. Like and then as an adult try to like still have guilt. I have these powers. I should be doing something. And that journey you go on, he probably would have become the full-fledged Superman we know by the time we got the third movie. But
Mm.
that never happened. And you can't really blame James Gunn for what happening. We potentially might have gotten Henry Cavill back for this movie as like a soft reboot and stuff. You kind of have to blame The Rock. Like that Shazam stuff and his chaos was a last nail in the coffin for that whole
Mm.
franchise from how he kind of just took over DC and stuff with what he was doing, and then now has pivoted to Disney with Moana and then the live action Moana 2 coming out, and then now we're getting a live action Moana pretty soon. So like you're putting a lot of blame on the wrong person. There are other people to blame other than James Gunn for the issues that happened at DC and Warner Bros. As far as that cinematic universe went. So
Yep. Okay, let's talk about what we've been watching. Yeah.
since the announcement of the King of the Hill reboot slash remake. I've been kind of rewatching it, been kind of chilling with my friends and kind of discussing, based on the way the world is, who would have voted for who, and like the joke was based on Peggy's, I literally just watched the last episode what I watched was Peggy Hill, how she says she's just proficient Spanish speaker. Like she goes, it takes these kids to Mexico and does no damn Spanish to the point where she kidnaps a Spanish girl and she's in court and she's like, "Yeah, I know Spanish really well." And the judge is like, "Peggy Hill, please stand up." And she's like, "Oh, I gotta go. I better go to talk to the judge because this lawyer here is just gonna keep talking about nothing." Like that.
Mm.
And the joke was, based on her ego and how much she inflates herself. Hank, probably wouldn't have voted for, the guy we have in the White House, because Hank is kind of, about honesty and being truth, but Peggy and her ego would.
Mm.
And, the hilarity of that, her trying to keep secret that she didn't vote for this idiot, like a lot of white women kind of did. But, yeah, I'm like, it's fun rewatching. I hope the show doesn't lose the magic that the original did, you know especially with concerns of Hank, leaving, Garland to go to work in Saudi Arabia, then coming back, knowing what we know about Hank. The idea of him going Saudi Arabia seems kind of against the character. But yeah, currently on enjoying the rewatch, King of the Hill is always a good, fun watch, no matter, you know, what's going on. So,
I watched the Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary. I saw it was in theaters like a while ago, and I was like, oh, I want to go see that, and then I didn't, and now it's on streaming. So, um, I didn't know a whole lot about Led Zeppelin. They're like post Beatles and Rolling Stones, so they're like somewhere in like the early 70s. I think that's when they really kind of took off. So I didn't really know that much about them, but or listen to their music. But the documentary was really interesting in terms of like kind of where they came from. Um, Everything I had heard about them was kind of negative, not in terms of their music, but just in terms of like their behavior and like what they were doing back in the 70s. So I was like not that interested in them as people, but watching the documentary, I was like, okay, like I can see how you guys coming from an environment where like that was so conservative, like 1950s England and like having no money. I get where like you would end up doing some like absolute nonsense once you had fame and wealth. But the documentary doesn't even go there. Like it doesn't even go to the part where like they are super famous and like have a organ on their private jet. Like it doesn't get there. And I think that was intentional. I feel like they all know that they did some like insane stuff back in those days that doesn't look good now. So they steered away from not talking about that stuff. And in fact, they just talked about the origins of how the group formed. And
mm,
I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Um, but yeah, they were just like really super talented. Like all of them were just like very good musicians. And they were like session musicians and stuff. And then Robert Plant, who's the lead singer, who has fabulous hair, by the way. Just his hair is amazing. Um, his voice is crazy and like it's just crazy good. Like the range he has is insane. And I feel like I don't know if he was the beginning of it, but definitely like kind of what the like hair 80s rockers, journey and the like, where you have these like incredible vocalists who are singing at these insane high notes. I think he was like, I don't know if they were the start of that, but it kind of feels like maybe they were a part of the start of that.
Mm.
And yeah, the music that they made was really good as well. And I realized that like I had heard their music, I just didn't know it was them because and this is the benefit of like watching movies. That's how I actually that's how I know like all about all these older bands. But like
Needle drops.
the needle drops,
Yeah.
they know what they're doing. David O. Russell has used their music a lot in his movie. So like in American Hustle and in Silver Linings Playbook, he has their songs either in the trailer or in the actual film. So I had heard their songs. I just had no idea it was that band. I didn't know they made music like that. It's really good rock music, but I thought that Led Zeppelin was more like hard rock than just like rock that's more kind of like popish. But and maybe they do in like their later discography, but like from their earlier albums, which is where those songs are taken from, like it's so good and like very memorable. So like it makes sense that they were as famous as they were. The way the music industry worked back then is so insane. Like it's like nothing compared to what it is right now. Like it just was a very different, like I don't know if it was necessarily better, but it did feel at least more like authentic and less like managed. Like they were just like going on tour and just doing like and just playing music and people would just show up. Like you couldn't really do that. And they were just like, we told the record label, y'all can't come into any of our sessions, like you're not allowed. And they just listened. Like no record executives were part of any of the decision making of their music. And it's like unheard of now. Like that never could happen at this moment. So it's just like a very interesting, I don't know, like it's just so different the way things are now in terms of the music industry. But they made good music, they had great hair, and they had great style. Like the fashion it was on point. They looked great. Makes sense. So yeah, but that was an interesting watch. I wish they did get into like what happened after they blew up. I feel like that would have been interesting because it's more just like talking heads and then like concert footage. But I would have liked to see like their thoughts on what happened afterwards. I think one of their members died. So I'm just like, can we talk about that? But they didn't. So that was the only thing that kind of made it not great. But it is called Becoming Led Zeppelin. It's not
Being Led Zeppelin.
Being Led Zeppelin. So
Yeah.
it wasn't false advertising. Yeah. All right. So that is it from us this week. We hope that you are all doing well and taking care of yourselves. Make sure to check out all of our social media, support us if you can, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.